Grand Rising, peace to everybody out there. How are you enjoying this beautiful Monday, day of the moon? So I want to come on and talk about a few things spiritually and also talk about the energy that will be present or important astrological transits this week. So first I wanted to kind of reflect on the first half of 2025. So I remember thinking last year, because I'm going to foreshadow it by talking about some events of 2024. In 2024, December of 2024, around the Christmas time, the now deceased Pope Francis, did some things with opening portals. They called it Celebration of Jubilee, right? And he opened 5 portals, one of them being to a prison. Now, if you pay attention, I remember thinking to myself, how is that going to manifest? Because when you talk about opening portals, he was going into these different doorways. One of them had to do with St. Peter's tomb. He was going to open that portal. Another one had to do with St. Mary. These different portals, these different gateways. And when they were saying that he was opening these portals, he literally was opening a portal, a dimensional doorway that would allow through certain types of spiritual energy. Now, the significant thing about one of the portals that he opened, which is not traditionally opened during Jubilee, which was one to a prison. So let's go back into 2025. He's opened these portals. Now, he passes away on April 21st, which was the day after Easter. Now, let's think about what Easter truly is, the origin of Easter. Easter dealt with the mythology and the crucifixion of death and rising of the goddess Inanna, also known as Ishtar, right? In certain traditions, they call her Astara, which is where the word Easter came from, because we started out with Inanna, Ishtar becoming Astara, and then Astara becoming the base word for Easter. So Ishtar, or Inanna, descends into hell. And when she gets there, she meets with her sister, Ereshkigal, who then kills her, hangs her, and she dies. She lays hanging for 3 days, and then she's resurrected, brought back to life. So as she was descending into hell, each level of hell that she went to, she had to give a part of her royal regalia, right? Her crown, because she's the queen of heaven. So when she descended and passed and died, people on earth were crying out for her. And what they had to do was they had to send someone in her place. Now, her husband was the only one who was not mourning her death and not crying out for her. So they sent her husband in her place, and she was resurrected. So she lay dead for 3 days. So this is where the original tradition of Easter comes from, dealing with the worship and the mythology of the goddess Inanna, Ishtar. So the fact that the Pope, which Pope means father, died on the day after Easter, the celebration of Ishtar, and that was on a Monday that he passed away, the day of the moon. So the moon represents the mother, the feminine energy, and the Pope means the father, the masculine energy, right? So his passing on represented a passing on of power, right? Of transformation from the patriarchal government, patriarchal rule, dominance, to giving that power over to what? The mother. Now, significantly, the Catholic Church in Italy sits where the Vatican is. Vatican means a divining serpent. Now, this is the year of the snake, which i.e. is a serpent. And so, and it also is a number 9 that deals with death, right? It deals with transformation, which death is a form of transformation. Now, 9 belongs to the goddess Oya. Oya is the Orisha who, when you pass on, she helps you make the transformation into the ancestral realm. Her home is the cemetery gates or the marketplace. So this is a year that's significant for her. So when the Pope passed on, they have the conclave, right? The conclave to choose a new Pope was on May the 8th. May 8th, 2025 comes to the master number 22, the master builder. Now, they chose someone from Chicago who had a bloodline that is connected to New Orleans, right? His great-grandparents are Creole, free black people. So he has melanin, Asiatic, African descent to him. That's where his bloodline goes, to New Orleans. Now, it's not a coincidence that just after he was chosen to be the next pope, now he's a Virgo, life path number 7. The previous pope was a life path number 3, Sagittarius. So he was elected on the 8th. Okay. And it was really interesting because I was working with Elegba, and I was asking Elegba to help bring me information. And I was watching this video called the Hoodoo, U.S. Hoodoo, or Hoodoo of America, something like that. And they were talking about Papa Legba, and then I looked and they showed that date, May 8th. May 8th was actually the birthday of the blues player. I can't think of his name, but he was the one who wrote the song and talking about how he went to the crossroads to meet the devil to learn how to be a great guitarist, right? And he's well known for having, quote unquote, sold his soul to the devil. So I kept thinking back, that date is very important, right? Just energetically, because it flashed back to the date. So moving forward, 7 days from the date that the new pope was chosen, that has this Moorish bloodline connection to Louisiana, you have some prisoners that escaped. Remember, the pope opened the door to prisoners, right? Well, this is how it manifested. These prisoners connected to New Orleans, connected to this new pope's bloodline, the same era, the same cycle of time, 7 days later, were free, right? Freed themselves, okay? Also, on that day, I think it was the day before, it was on a Thursday, the Nottingham plantation that was turned into a result went up in fire, right? Caught fire twice and burnt up. That was the energy of Oya and the ancestors, because I was doing a little research on that plantation, and it was known to be haunted. It has a history of being haunted, of slaves still being there. One in particular, they said, cursed that home, right? This one slave that was abused there. Many of them were probably abused, but they specifically talked about this woman slave. So, it was on a Thursday. Thursday deals with justice, Jupiter energy. So it was justice, divine justice, that these spirits had to be free, because remember, fire purifies. This is why you see it. And remember also, Oya spits fire. Although she's connected to the wind, she's also connected to fire. And when we talking about clearing land, clearing spaces that are haunted, places that, because when you have hauntings, you have a lot of soul stuck and a lot of suffering. A lot of times there's also demonic activity in those places as well. We know La Rue Mansion is also known to be very haunted and to have some demonic forces within it. New Orleans is a portal in itself, right? So you see how the Pope went and opened the portal. And then there we had, and then all this, during the same time, you had the doll Annabelle come to New Orleans around the same time. Now, they said it was Annabelle who set the fire. A lot of people thought Annabelle went to New Orleans and set that fire. Even if that doll influenced it, the reason that she was moved there is because, remember, dark and light has to live in harmony, sit side by side to one another. So sometimes the creator will use dark forces to check other dark forces, okay? So whether that doll helped that process along or not, it was the process of the slaves being purified from that land, and the negative energy that was being held on that land, and any entities and deities there had to go through purification. Remember, the earth is a living being, and she has been calling out for help. And as she raised in frequency, there's a lot of purification that is going on that has to happen. So this is why I've been telling you guys, cleanse yourself, okay? Purify yourself, because you're holding certain energies, maybe even certain entities. Baths are great. Don't get me wrong, but at this point, some of y'all need to take this to the ritual level. You need to start doing some spiritual cleansing rituals, burning your candles, and calling in the energy of fire. Fire is very powerful for cleansing and purifying rapidly, especially if there's attachment. So like I offer a ritual a cleansing ritual where I do work with candle work along with eggs and other things to help to rapidly and forcefully, aggressively cleanse a person of the negative things, energies, entities, attachments, and whatnot that they are carrying. So the earth is going through this type of purification period as well. And we're seeing the manifestation of those things happen now. It's not a coincidence that these events are happening when they did, and that the people that they're happening to in these areas. Also, New Orleans sits within the 33rd degree parallel. Remember, I told you a couple of years back that I picked up a channel that said that the closer you are to the 33rd degree parallel, the more you're going to see cataclysmic events and, conflict breakout, storms, fires, death, different things, because that area is like it holds the Christ conscious energy in that 33rd degree parallel. It is a energetic portal along that parallel, and so it's almost like a main chakra point that has to be cleared. By clearing that, it helps to purify the other areas around it. It's like touching important vortexes and things in that area. So it's very important during this time, y'all, cleanse, do your spiritual purification, do your releasing work, because Oya is here. She is cleansing, she is clearing. And I noticed the other day, I had to give an offering to Oya on Wednesday, and I planned on doing some more work with her on Thursday. And I'm driving, I woke up that morning and it was storming, first of all. Then I'm driving down the street, the car in front of me, license plate said Oya. I was like, okay, interesting. And then I noticed that there were reports that there was a tornado here in the Detroit area, and also that people saw this blue orb and they saw something come out of it, and they felt like there was some alien intelligence issues and things going on where people were picking up on telepathic messages and things. So there's a lot going on, y'all. Okay, there are beings from other places that are also here to help us clear and purify Earth and ourselves, because we have to go through that process too. So this week we have the new moon. The new moon is going to be in the sign of Cancer. It's on the 25th, which is a Wednesday. So this is going to be a powerful new moon because Jupiter is also in Cancer this year. So Jupiter expands whatever it touches, helps to grow. So this is going to be a wonderful full moon to do your manifestation work with, okay? It's also the feast day for a deity called Mami Wata, who is a pantheon of water spirits that are either known to be part serpent, or sometimes she's shown as a mermaid, sometimes she's shown as a black woman with this serpent around her neck. Some people say she has a connection to La Madama, but she's a very powerful deity, and it is her priesthood that is connected to the Sibyls, that's connected to the Vatican, because the Vatican sits on an old temple to the Sibyls, and an old temple there to the goddess Circes and other deities, and also Inanna were worshipped there. There's a serpent entity that lives on that mound that the Vatican sits on, okay? So this is a very powerful time to also work with that deity and to do cleansing, purification. If you feel like that you're a Sibyl, and I've talked about Sibyls, they are the prophetess of Mami Wata. There's a book about it as well that you can get by Mother Zugba. But anyway, don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm going to be doing a new moon honey jar. So if you're interested, go to my website, www.enchanteddiva.com, and enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.